There we
It
go.
says we're live. And don't
Okay.
forget to record.
Yes, thank you. All right, we'll just wait a minute here for people to find us and get going. So, because it's only 12:59. Hi, everybody. All right, cool. We are live. Great. Excellent. So, hey, everybody, as you come in, say hi in the chat so we know that you're seeing us. And we'll just give everybody a minute to find us. And let me pull something up over here. Why don't I see it? Okay, great. All right. Recording. All right, hello and welcome to all of you doulas. I am so excited for today's conversation today with Jane Havens, because Jane is just a powerhouse. And as a sleep consultant and a trainer, and just she's a great Facebook group called Becoming a Sleep Consultant. And before I let you introduce yourself, Jane, I just want to say all of you doulas who've been following me know that one of the things I talk about a lot is how you don't need to add more trainings to your business. Because I see so many people think, oh, I'm not getting clients because I don't have enough training. So I'll go learn nutrition, or I don't want to, belly binding, or I don't want to, throw certain trainings under the bus. But I see doulas all the time adding trainings that don't necessarily help them get more clients or earn more income. I love that you're taking trainings, but if you're doing it to earn more income or get more clients, maybe you need to spend money on marketing. But that all changes with Jane. I think becoming a sleep consultant can be a huge boost for your business, because what's the number one thing new parents struggle with is sleep. And so, and then we have our clients, and then their baby's 3 months old and we say goodbye. Becoming a sleep consultant is a way to still continue to work with them, help them, serve them, and add more income to your doula business. So Jane, I'm so excited you're here to talk to us all about this. So tell us a little bit about you and your business.
Sure. Thank you so much for having me. My name is Jane Havens. I am a certified sleep consultant. I specialize in infant and toddler sleep. I support parents through the process of teaching their children to fall asleep independently and fall back to sleep independently so that they can sleep better through the night. I started as I was a stay-at-home mom. My story is that I just was looking for something to do. I was taking care of 2 young kids at home and looking for frankly, a side hustle. And I got into sleep consulting because I was really good at getting my own kids to sleep. It was something that came naturally to me. Whenever I didn't know what to do, I read, I took to the internet. I just was constantly absorbing information, and I was good at it. So I was helping friends, then it became friends of friends. And then several years later, I decided to take the plunge and get my own certification so that I could do this professionally. I never intended for it to be the business that it is today. Now several years later, I've helped hundreds and hundreds of families, and I now train, mentor, and certify others to become sleep consultants, which is what we're going to talk about today.
Yeah, I love that. So let's start by just break it down for us. What exactly do you mean when you say you're a sleep consultant? What does that mean?
Sure. So as I said before, sleep consultants support parents through the sleep training process. The word sleep training sometimes has a negative connotation, and some people don't like to use that. It feels like a dirty word. It feels like something that's bad or not right. I really try to normalize the term sleep training. I don't think that it has to be a negative thing. Yes, training feels weird, right? So sleep conditioning, sleep helping, whatever it is, it doesn't matter. At the end of the day, we are, as sleep consultants, supporting parents through the process of teaching their children how to fall asleep. A lot of time people think that sleep training and night weaning are the same thing. So when you hear of a family say like, I'm against sleep training, I'll never sleep train, my baby's not ready to sleep through the night, meaning they still need to be fed in the middle of the night. Sleep training doesn't mean night weaning. So a lot of the families that I work with, we continue to have the baby nurse once or twice throughout the night, or maybe a baby still gets a bottle in the middle of the night. That's really a completely separate issue. I do support families through night weaning, but that's really completely separate. When I think of sleep training, I think of just teaching a baby how to fall asleep in a way that's a little bit different than what they're used to. So if a baby is used to being nursed to sleep, then maybe you start by rocking them to sleep or just putting them down and giving them a little shimmy, right? So they're really gentle, hands-on approaches to this. And we as sleep consultants just support parents through the process of making those changes.
That's awesome. I always say to my clients, like, sleeping is a skill, and like it's a parent's job, like, to teach your kids to sleep. So
yes.
So I love this. So what so I know you offer a whole training. What age babies, like if someone did a training with you, what age range would that cover?
Yeah. So the course that I offer through the Center for Pediatric Sleep Management trains you to support families that have babies that are newborns all the way through about 4 years old. In my business, I personally support parents. I say 6 weeks to 6 years. And I say 6 weeks, not because a baby can't start to learn a little bit how to fall asleep independently before that. I actually think there are some things that you can do from the first days home. The very, very earliest days, you can implement a bedtime routine, you can get the baby in a little bit of a groove, right? So you definitely can start earlier than 6 weeks, but I sometimes think that mom and dad just need to like come up for air first. And I find that working with families that have babies younger than 6 weeks, it's just like they're too underwater. Like they're not ready to hear anything yet, and that's fine. So my program really covers like newborn through older toddler years, but I tend to support families like a little bit older on a case-by-case basis.
Yeah. But so, I mean, I'm just thinking about this as a doula, like that's perfect, because, and I said to some of the doulas in here that we get our clients and they love us and we're at their birth, or we're there those first 6 weeks when shit is hitting the fan, anyway. So by the time we're done with them, they love us and trust us so implicitly. Like I am the first call they make during the 4-month sleep regression. So
Totally.
So I think as a doula, to have this in your arsenal would be so helpful, even just to tell them what to say, or create packages around.
I totally agree. One thing that I have a lot of doulas in my program already enrolled, and they are largely very successful already, and they're simply looking for ways to like sort of level up in their business and support clients further, like you mentioned. And sometimes one of the questions they'll ask me after they complete the course is like, okay, so I know how to find postpartum clients, like I know how to support people in home, but how do I find clients for sleep training? And it's like such an obvious thing that doesn't occur to them, that like they're already there. Like you're already there and you're already supporting them through sleep without them realizing it, so like just talking about it. I always tell them, like when you're in a family's home and you're helping them with their 3-month-old and you're doing whatever, you can just say like, oh, I just got my sleep consultant certification. I actually know what I'm doing. I actually know how to help, I actually know how to make this better. And then you explain to them, and guess what? I also can support you virtually. I don't physically have to be in your house forever. If you need me 3 months down the road, like call me and we can work together via phone and text, so it's a really natural progression for postpartum professionals that are already supporting families through the tough stuff already.
Oh yeah. And like I said, I mean, I knew several years ago, met a sleep consultant, like kind of the first official sleep consultant I ever met. And I was just chatting with her and I was like, why aren't you a millionaire? Like I had 3 babies in 4 years. I would have paid if
Anything.
I knew there was some that could help me get more sleep, I would have paid anything. And I'm a very frugal person. Like, I didn't buy a lot of baby stuff, but man, sleep, I just think it's such a necessity. And if you can help someone, there's so much value in it. So I think adding this to your doula business is so valuable. And I just, oh, my next question was, do other doulas do this? So how do doulas do that? Do they have like a separate web page or packages? How do most of them set that up?
Yeah, so the model that I teach in my course is the remote model. So I teach people, whether they're doulas or anybody else, but like I teach people how to support families remotely through the sleep training process. There are some programs out there that will like teach you how to support families in home, and anything that I teach is applicable. Like you could physically be in home, but ideally, like I think most people who are coming to me, they want to learn how to support families virtually. So the model that I teach is, basically I teach doulas and anybody else how to support families in a way that feels safe and comfortable for them. And we use varying techniques based on their comfort level, based on their parenting style. And I teach them how to go through the entire process, all the way from like that very first discovery call that you get on with a prospective client, which, doulas know, I'm sure, a lot about already, but how to get on that discovery call after you take in all that information, how to write a written sleep plan for them so that they can digest all of the information in a really concise, easy to read. Look, parents are so tired, right? Like they can't handle like a 25-page document. If they wanted that, they would have bought a book, right? So they're hiring us to like cut to the chase and give it to them straight and tell them what to do, or at least a few different options, right? Like typically I'll put a couple different options on paper. And then I teach, then the next step is to get on a phone call and to review it all. So you go over it with the family, talk through all the different options, and ideally the parents land on something that you've proposed in there. It feels like the right fit for them. And then you support that family. I do for 2 weeks. I tell my students that you're free to set up your business however you want, but my process is a 2-week process. And that includes, like the phone call to review, text message support for 2 weeks, and then I do a wrap-up phone call at the end. And then, of course, if I have a client that's particularly anxious and wants to talk an extra time or two, I would never tell them no. But generally, that's how I set it up, and that's what I teach my students. The beautiful thing is for doulas is that, you're so used to being in families' homes and like you only have a certain amount of hours in every day, right? Like even if you're at the top of your pay scale and working the most amount of hours that you can possibly work, like you're maxed out. That's it, right? So what I teach allows you to support many families at once, or at least several families at once, and you don't have to physically be anywhere. I'm sitting at my kitchen table right now. So, I've built a business just from like my phone and my iPad and sitting at my kitchen table or in my car in the carpool line. And it really gives me a lot of freedom. And that's what I try to provide for my students, is a way, not that doulas should never go into homes ever again. That's a much needed service, and they 100% should continue to do that, especially if they love the work, but it doesn't need to be all or nothing, right? So, maybe supporting fewer families in homes so that you have more time with your own family. And then while you're home with your own family, you can support others virtually.
Yeah. And even as doulas, even, when you are successfully getting clients, there's still downtime. Like when you're on call, just waiting, or you're in between clients, there's often these pockets of time. I mean, I think adding in sleep consulting into those pockets of time is a great way to maximize that.
And the irony about like, what I love about the connection between doulas and sleep consultants is like, a doula's primary role is to support, right? Like that's what you do, is you provide support, and whether that be through labor or postpartum or anything else, right? And That's what we as sleep consultants do.
Yeah.
We provide information and support. That's what you guys do. You provide information and support. It's the exact same thing. We're just sort of like very narrowly focused.
Yeah.
But it's the same. So it's sort of like the work that you're already doing, just in like a much more narrowed down focus.
Right. Yes, I'm so glad you said that, because the philosophy is the same. Like, your goal as a sleep consultant is to teach the parents how to teach their babies to sleep. Like, you're not coming in and taking over.
Correct.
Same with doulas. Like, our goal is to support the parents to learn what they need to learn to do this.
Exactly.
So I think there's so many just good synergies on so many levels. So I know people are going to ask, and I know you can't, it depends on where you live, and obviously you can set up your packages however you want, but like, just a ballpark, like, what would you charge for that package that you described where you're helping?
Sure.
Just to give people an idea.
Yeah, sure. So I have two options for support. The first is I do what I call my Ask Me Anything phone call, which is 45 minutes of my time, and it's just a phone call. It's a pick your brain session. They can ask me 1,000,001 questions. I answer them all. I don't hold anything back. That being said, there's no follow-up support. So it's literally just 45 minutes of my time. That's it. And I charge $145 for that call. Then the 2-week consultation, which I described before, I charge $550 for that service. And I support anywhere from 15 to 20-ish families a month. I'm trying to like scale it back to 15, not 15 to 20. It was like 20 to 25, 26, 27. And now that I am focusing really on supporting my students through the Center for Pediatric Sleep Management, I'm really trying to like pare down on the one-on-one support that I'm giving. But I think it's really manageable to support, 15, 20 families a month at that rate. It's a good income. And then like time management wise, it's not a total time suck. Like, it's really manageable.
That's amazing. That's awesome. Okay. So tell us a little bit more about your training program, like what's involved. Like, the number one question I always get is like, how much time will this take?
Yeah, everybody asks me that too. So the course is self-guided. It's really hard to put time on it because everybody goes through it at their own pace. So it looks different for everybody. That being said, I would say like the middle range, my students that are going through the course are finishing in like 3 to 4 or 5 weeks. And what that looks like is probably, spending an hour here, an hour there, instead of like watching Netflix and scrolling your phone at night. It's not spending 6 or 8 hours a day on it. It's an hour here, an hour there will land you at like the 3 or 4 week mark. I had a student more recently get through it in like a week. She plowed through it. I think she was spending a lot more time per day than that. And then I have other people who aren't really putting the time in, and it takes them months and months. So it really depends. But I like to say like 3, 4, 5 weeks. As I said, the course is self-guided. You go through it at your own pace. It's a combination of online curriculum that is reading and video. So it's combination. And then in addition to the online curriculum, I also include 6 books with the price of the course. I do this because I feel strongly that the reason that I am so successful and that I know what I'm doing to the level that I do is because I'm well-read, and I can't put all those books into my course, right? Like, it would just be too much. So I include the books. I don't want anybody to not read them because they don't want to pay for them. So I just include them. And I say that, my students don't need to read them cover to cover, but they should have a general idea of what the books say, right? And they're really just meant to be resources as you go on with your business. And maybe you come across a question and you don't know the answer, and then you have these 6 awesome books on your desk.
Well, I think it's also really important to be reading what your clients are reading. Like, that's super helpful. So that makes sense.
Exactly. I always tell them, one of the books I include is Baby Wise, which is a very well-known, all moms like to read Baby Wise. So if you're a professional sleep consultant and you don't know what Baby Wise says, and a mom comes to you and is like, I'm a Baby Wise mom, and you're like, what's Baby Wise? Like, that's not good, right? So I really just want my students to be prepared and well-versed in all of the stuff that's out there. So in addition to the online curriculum and the books, I also have a Facebook group for all of my students and grads. You get lifetime access to this community. It is so much more than like just a Facebook group. It is literally, this sounds so cheesy, but it's a family. Like we all know each other. We're all friends. We support one another. When somebody lands their first client, they share and everybody chimes in with celebrations. When you have questions, you come in and ask questions and so many people chime in with their answers. It's just like the most amazing part of the course. And I worked very, very hard to facilitate that. I created this community environment because I noticed that that was what was missing from other programs on the market. I think that entrepreneurship is really overwhelming and lonely sometimes, especially for women. And it feels like this deep, dark cave that you're in by yourself sometimes. And to have others to support on, to lean on and to find support is just, I think, like the difference between figuring it out and not figuring it out, you know? So if we can go at it together, I think it's much less stressful. And whenever we're feeling like, ugh, down, like I don't have it in me, then everyone's chiming in like, yes, you do, let's go. You know, it's a really awesome community.
That's awesome.
So yeah, that's generally what it looks like. As far as like the nitty gritty of the course, I follow the American Academy of Pediatrics Safe Sleep Guidelines. You know, there are programs out there. Sleep consulting is not a regulated field. It's sort of like being a doula.
Yeah.
You know, anybody can call themselves a sleep consultant. Anybody can put a course on the market and teach anything. So there are some courses out there that don't follow like our government's guidelines. And I just think it's really important to teach what the doctors are telling us to do, you know? So I follow like evidence-based information and the American Academy of Pediatrics, and you know, I teach it all. So there's no bias, there's no agenda in my course. I teach everything from like the most hands-on, gentle, gradual sleep training techniques all the way through extinction, because I think it's really, frankly, short-sighted to leave any of it out. And if we're going to be experts, we should understand how to utilize all of those techniques, even if our clients don't want that, even if you don't want that, like it's still important to learn and to expose yourself to everything out there. So it's a judgment-free zone, and you know, I teach it all.
I love that, because I know that this would be a question some doulas have. Like, so if someone took your training, they'd be set up to help a family that wanted to bed share and breastfeed all night long, or well, maybe not bed sharing.
Yeah, no, not bed sharing.
Okay.
And look, like, here's the way I feel on that. I actually just had this conversation with someone else. At the end of the day, like I personally subscribe to like safe sleep recommendations that our government tells us to use. That's how I roll. I understand there are other people that do it differently. If you're coming to me with your 6-month-old baby and want to continue to bed share, I'm not the right coach for you. And that doesn't mean that there's not somebody out there that will support that person. And I do firmly believe that every family deserves support, but I also think there's like a right match for everybody, you know? So that's not the right match for me.
Yeah. But my question was more like, you're not like preaching the Ferber method and that everybody has to do the Ferber method.
Exactly. No, exactly. I do teach a variation on Ferber. I do it a little bit differently. I actually think mine's better. I'd like to talk to him about it actually, because I think he leaves something out. But yes, I teach Ferber. I also teach the Sleep Lady Shuffle. I also teach pick up, put down, and shish pat. I teach really, really hands-on gradual approaches. And I teach extinction. You know, extinction is really, really scary for a lot of people to think about. If you don't mind, I'd love to share a recent example with extinction. But okay, so like I just started with a family that has a little 9-month-old baby, and this family was doing it all. Okay, like they were rocking to sleep, bouncing to sleep, walking to sleep, strolling to sleep. And then they tried to sleep train on their own using really hands-on, gentle techniques. They tried to do like the chair method where they were shushing and patting, sitting right next to her for 3 hours. She was up crying during that. And they couldn't do it. And so they came to me and I put together a couple different options, and ultimately they landed on my version of the Ferber method is what we were going to do. And literally within 10 minutes, she had already like lied down and was like settling herself to sleep. She was asleep within 18 minutes. Parents never went in. That is not like, is that extinction? Kind of like parents never went in, right? Like, is that
Right.
extinction? But like, it was intentional. Like the child was communicating to her parents that she just needed some space, like that's what she wanted, was she wanted her parents to get out of the way. And now she's doing great.
Yeah.
So like, people who say they're against extinction, I love to tell little stories like that, because that wasn't really like intentional extinction, but it became extinction. And now like mom just doesn't even go in because it's very clear that like her daughter just does better with her not in the way,
Yeah.
and she's sleeping beautifully. She slept through the night every single night since we've started working together. So
that's awesome.
and like, it doesn't always look that way, right? Like sometimes it's messier. It doesn't always look that way, but it's not so black and white, there's a lot of gray area in there. And at the end of the day, my job is to support the family and to achieve better sleep. So that's what I'm doing.
Awesome. All right. There's some really good questions rolling in. And one is like how Leah is concerned about clients having specific and high expectations. Do you run into people being frustrated when you don't get the results they want?
That is an awesome question. I'm really glad somebody asked that. So first things first, I am the queen of managing expectations. Like it's my favorite thing to do. Okay. Especially with toddlers. Like if you have like a 2 or a 3-year-old in a bed that's not sleeping well and that hasn't been sleeping well for a year plus, 2 weeks with me isn't going to cut it, and it's just not, especially if you want to take a gentle, gradual approach. So I'm the first to manage expectations on the front end. I tell parents exactly like, what I would say to that family with a 2 or 3-year-old in a bed that hasn't been sleeping well for a year. My goal for the 2 weeks would be to get bedtime under control. That would be my goal. Like, let's spend 2 weeks just making bedtime a peaceful experience so that you can do a bedtime routine, read a story, sing a song, give your kid a kiss goodnight, and walk out the door and have them not have a tantrum. That would be my goal. And that's, I think, a really manageable goal for that age group for a child in a bed. So I love managing expectations with toddlers. With infants, I actually think that like more often than not, it's really a pretty simple solution to like sleep is totally doable with infants. Like they rarely have major struggles, rarely. So what I spend time on with families with infants is talking to them about what it's going to look like and what it's going to sound like. If I can coach my parents through what the crying sounds like, if I can tell them in advance what it's going to sound like before it happens, that is so helpful to them. And I have it down to like a science. I could walk you through exactly what it's going to sound like and what their communication is going to be and the transitions that they go through. And that's so comforting to parents, because then when it's happening, they're like, oh yeah, okay, you said that. Okay,
Yeah.
you said that was going to happen too.
Well, and also just hearing that that's normal and that's what's going to happen. Like you're not thinking, oh my God, or we're
yeah,
to our babies. So
also I think parents also like hear these nightmare stories where like their kid cried for 2 hours or 3 hours or whatever. And honestly, that doesn't happen on my watch, like ever. It really doesn't. Like that mom that came to me that like her child cried for 3 hours while she was sitting there, I would have told her to leave the room after like 15 or 20 minutes, because like that wasn't working. And so that doesn't happen on my watch. If that's what's happening, then we need to make a change. Kids do not cry for hours and hours and hours on end during sleep training. If it's implemented properly, you have like the right plan in place and you have the right tools. Like for example, a 3-month-old that's not rolling yet still needs to be swaddled if you're going to work on sleep, because their motor reflex is really strong. So like if you put them down awake and they're flailing around, like they're not going to get to sleep, right? So they need something, whether it's a Merlin suit or a swaddle. So if you have all of those pieces of the puzzle in place, then like it's not such a crazy, horrible experience.
Yeah, that's awesome. All right, another great question. Does your course cover working with twins?
Yeah, I do have like a brief little section on multiples. I have a section in my course that's called unique circumstances. It's one of my favorite parts of the course. We talk about multiples, we talk about how to deal with travel, illness, teething. I have a little interview in there about supporting families with kids that have special needs and supporting parents who have perinatal mood and anxiety disorders. But back to the question about multiples, honestly, the answer is that like they're not that much different than singletons. At the end of the day, like they have to learn to live with one another, right? So like there's no major secret to it, but we do go over it. Yes, is the short answer.
Actually, and on that same line, Monique is asking, does that unique circumstances cover babies with special needs like Down syndrome?
So, okay, so this is interesting. So when I started my work as a sleep consultant, I always steered clear of children with special needs. I felt like it was outside of my scope. I felt like it was better suited for like the family to work with their pediatrician or medical professionals, whatever. So I always steered clear. Then I enrolled a student into my program. Her name is Candace, and she has a child with special needs. Her child is now she's older, like 5 or 6, I think, but she is vision impaired, and then she also has autism. And when she was 2, Candace hired a sleep consultant. And at the time, they didn't have the autism diagnosis, but they knew she was visually impaired. And the way that this sleep consultant supported Candace says it changed her life, and it changed the way that she parented her daughter. And just the fact that like somebody said, yes, I will support you. And I don't know that I can solve all of your problems, but I'm going to do my best to give you some solutions, just some things to help. Like,
Right.
We're just going to make little changes and see if we can help. Right. Like, I'm not going to cure your child's autism. I'm not going to, right. Like those things aren't going to be fixed, but I can still give you some strategies to help give you some sense of control and over the situation and like some normalcy. And so that's what the sleep consultant did. And it like totally like was so important for Candace to have that. And so she and I did a whole interview and we uploaded it into the course. And now I'm 100% like, I operate differently now. Like now I totally will support families with special needs. I think if they're medically fragile, that's a different situation. But, if they're visually impaired, if they have autism, we support them, ADHD, and we just come at it with a different set of goals and expectations and just support parents, just like any other parent, that in a way that feels safe and comfortable for them.
Yeah. And like you said before, I think just managing the expectations from the get-go is a huge part of that. So,
yeah.
All right. We have so many people that are ready to sign up. They're like, what's the link? So
you know what? Should we give a code?
Oh, yeah.
Should we give a discount code? Okay.
Yeah.
Sometimes I do this. If people are really wanting to sign up, then I think we should like give a sale. And let's make it Doula Darcy 250. And it will be valid. We're at the 23rd. So let's say through the end of it's such a short month. Ugh. Yeah. Let's look. Well, that gives us through I think we have enough time. Let's make it through the end of the month. Okay. Yeah. Doula Darcy 250, and it's going to be valid through the end of the month. This was a spur of the moment thing. We did not discuss this. Right. And I should mention, because a lot of people are probably going to ask next, like, do you have a payment plan? That's the next question. So I will make the code valid on payment plans as well. Feel free to DM me for information on that. It's actually, if you go to register, there's a little drop down menu where you can see the payment plans, but people tend to miss it. So feel free to reach out if you are confused about how to do that. But the $250 will come off of your first monthly payment if you decide to enroll on a payment plan.
Awesome. And so what's the website they would go to?
Okay, so they would go to thecpsm.com.
Okay. I will put that all in the comments.
Cool.
I can't talk and type at the same time.
That's okay. No worries. We'll do it later.
So a couple more questions and I think I know the answer. Are you adding to the course over time, and do people can students come back and get refreshers?
Yes. So you had great, awesome questions. Who are these people? I love them.
They're my villagers.
They're your village. I love these people. So yes, the course is updated regularly. Like for example, that interview that I was talking about, the special needs interview, that was not originally in the course, that was added later. I also added the interview about perinatal mood and anxiety disorders recently. I've also added all of my group chats. This is something that I do from time to time in my one-on-one consulting business. I offer these group coaching calls where I'll get, 10 or 15 moms on Zoom and just do like a group coaching session. I have them for newborns, infants, toddlers, and I've recorded them and uploaded them into the course so that my students can access them for free just to learn from them, or also if they want to model and do the same thing in their own businesses. So yes, I am constantly updating the course as new things come up and as I'm learning more, and I'm always out there researching. So I do update the course and I do give my students lifetime access to the curriculum. So every time I make an update, I share in the Facebook group, like, I made this update, and then I also will send out an email to all of my, students, grads, letting them know that the curriculum has been updated.
Oh, cool. And as part of the course, Erica wants to know, going over how to set those realistic expectations and goals.
Yeah. So I have a section in the course called Communicating Effectively with Clients. And this is where all of that is discussed. Basically, you'll learn how to communicate, right? Everything from like the discovery call to the phone call where you onboard them and tell them everything that's going to happen, and then the wrap-up call. And yes, we talk a lot about how to manage expectations. A lot of that conversation goes on in a Facebook group too. These are the questions that come up in our community all the time, and we're always helping each other. One of my grads recently posted in the group, I think today or yesterday, she said, how do you keep your discovery call to just 15 minutes? I always feel like they go on forever. And so a bunch of people chimed in with like their format of the discovery call. And mine is very simple. Like step one, I listen, I hear their story. Step two, I tell them what it looks like for me to work with them. That's it, right? Like I don't offer any I don't tell them how to sleep train their baby on a discovery call. I listen to them and then I tell them how I can help. And that's usually 15 minutes. So that's what it looks like for me. And, we're constantly helping each other from a business perspective. Whenever things come up, we're always helping each other out.
That's awesome. All right. Amy Sue Nochumowitz is here.
Oh, that's my mom.
Oh, she said she's taken the course and it's fantastic.
That's my mom. I just blew up her spot. She's trying to be supportive. My mom's my #1 fan. She watches all my interviews, and she did take my course and she passed with flying colors. I was really proud of her.
I love that. I just was teaching a little class on testimonials, and I'm like, if you're just starting out, like have your mom say something nice about you and put it on your website. That's
really funny. I actually had like 100 students before my mom enrolled, so she wasn't like the first one, but she, as my business has grown, I've needed help. Like I need help in my business. And so she took my course so that she can help me. We're still trying to figure out what that help looks like, but she at least passed the course.
Oh, good. And well, cheering you on is a big one. Okay.
Exactly.
Ashley would like to know, is there a discount if an entire doula collective wants to do the course, like a group?
Yeah, there would be. And like, that would be on a case-by-case basis, depending on how many people wanted to enroll at once. So please have them reach out. And I definitely would be open to discounting it substantially for a large group, for sure.
Cool. So she should just message you, right?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Okay. And Nolene wants to know, do we need to pay extra every couple of years to stay certified from you?
Awesome question. Who are these people? No, you don't. Some of the courses do ask you to do that. I don't, and I'm going to explain why, because I think the why is important. My community, the one that I was telling you about before, my Facebook group, is what I think is like the best part about my group. And I don't want you to leave because you have to pay. Like you're valuable to me, just like I'm valuable to you, right? Like you're valuable to me. So when you come into my course, you're going to have something of value to offer to my community. I have parents of special needs kids. I have nurses. I have therapists. I have school teachers. I have stay-at-home moms. I have doulas. I have breastfeeding counselors. All of these people are extremely valuable to me. They help me teach everybody else. Like, we all learn from one another. So I don't want people leaving because they have to like keep paying every year. I want you to stay. I want you to want to be there. And I want you to want to support everybody else in my community. So no.
I love that answer, and lots of hearts are coming up.
Yeah.
Oh, I had one more question I was going to ask you. Shoot. Oh, I know. So after someone takes your course, do they have like letters after their name? Is there a title? Is there a?
Yeah. So because it's not like a regulated field, it's like, you're just like a certified sleep consultant at the end of the day. What that certification means, because there's no governing body that oversees this field. It's not like becoming an occupational therapist where you have to like go to grad school, right? It's different. Your certification is basically an education in the topic, and it provides you with a level of credibility with your clients. Honestly, in my however many years of doing this, nobody's ever asked me where I got my certification. Like, they wouldn't know the name of the company that I went through. They don't care. They just want to know that I'm educated and that I know my stuff. And frankly, I tell them that largely what we're doing as sleep consultants is just providing parenting support. So, I do think that the work, I think that what I teach is extremely valuable. And I think that you should, if you're going to support parents through sleep training, I think you should get certified. But that being said, like, friends coach friends through sleep training all the time. Like, this is not like highly complicated stuff, to be honest. It's really not.
Well, so it's very similar to doula work. Like,
Exactly.
You take a training, whoever's with, and then you're a certified doula. So
exactly, same thing.
I always say there's no doula police that come out and chase you down because you're not using the right.
Same in my field. Yeah. There is no sleep training. Exactly.
Right. But people will take your training and then they'd write on their website that, Darcy Sauers, postpartum doula, certified doula and sleep consultant.
Yeah. Right. And I provide my students with like a certificate of completion so that you can hang it up in your office or you can share it with your doula agency. I mean, I do think that like doula agencies are lately really interested in having a sleep consultant on staff or like as a resource for their community. So a lot of the agencies will want to see that you were certified. And then I also will provide you with a badge for your website that is just like a little image that says that you're a certified sleep consultant.
That's awesome. That's huge. Great. So I think that's any other questions. Let me just look 1 second. Nolene says, oh my gosh, you're awesome. I'm signing up.
Oh, good.
So this is great. So what I want to say, everybody now you also have a free Facebook group called Becoming a Sleep Consultant, which is a group.
Yeah, for those of you that are watching that like are just intrigued and want to learn more, join Becoming a Sleep Consultant. It's my community that I created, I don't know, 7 or 8 months ago. And it's really honestly like everybody's welcome. Even those who are certified through other companies are welcome in my group. It's really just meant to be a resource for you to learn more about the field in general, and then obviously my program specifically. So join the group, poke around. I have a few interviews with doulas that have taken my course that are pretty inspiring. So if you want to check those out, join the group. I'll tag you in those. And if you don't need to waste time with that and you're just ready to join, then I'm excited to have you. Yeah. But give me a few minutes because I didn't even make up that code. I didn't even like put that code in the computer yet. So I have to do that.
I was going to say that the group, I'm part of the group, it's a great group. You provide so much value in there. Like, you go live all the time. Like, it's a great group to be a part of. And I think you really get an idea of, I don't know, the level of, so the way I look at it is the level of support you provide in your free group. I can't even imagine being part of your paid group because you do such a great job for the free group. So that's what I was going to say. I really like about your program is you don't leave people hanging. Like, you're working with them and helping them to ensure that they're becoming successful. And
Yeah, I mean, look, like their success, like for those of you guys watching this, your success is a positive reflection on me.
mhm.
So I want you to be successful. You know, when my students are rocking and rolling and they're growing their businesses and they're doing amazing things, like that means that I'm doing my job right, you know? So like I want everybody to be successful. And if that means that I have to come in and provide a crazy amount of support, then that's what I'm going to do, because you know, it's only successful if my students are successful. So, you know, that's the way I look at it. And it's just more fun to like be a part of a group of people that are doing well, right? Like that's way more fun than the alternative.
Exactly. That's awesome. So great. Well, Jane, thank you so much for taking the time to share with us today. I think I think you have a lot of new students, so that's great.
I hope so. Thank you.
But this has been very helpful. And like I said, I think the way to peace on earth is through families getting more sleep. So I've always made it a big part of my doula practice. So, and like I said, like this, it's the number one thing families want. Like once the baby's born and you get through that postpartum haze, then it's just like, oh my God, how do I help them sleep more? So thank you for helping us doulas do that. So
you're welcome.
Awesome.
Thank you so much for having me. And we'll leave the information in the comments of this conversation. And thank you guys in advance for asking such awesome questions. This made for a really awesome interview. So it was awesome being here today.
Excellent. And Jane, you know, reach out to her via DM or join her group. And
yeah, either way, I'm super accessible on the internet. So find me one way or another and we'll connect.
Awesome. Great. Thank you so much, Jane. Have a great day.
You too. Bye-bye.